Hi, Dawn Ferguson here. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in New South Wales, Australia, and today I'm going to show you how to make a Christmas card. You're in lockdown, so why not make Christmas cards? So I'm going to show you this one. This one I posted up online on my Facebook page, and it was pretty popular, so quite a few people have asked how to do it, so I decided to do a tutorial. I'm having trouble with my camera. It doesn't want to flip around, so you'll have to bear with me while I just turn this around. Welcome to my desk. I'm sorry about the wobble. You're probably feeling seasick by now. Okay, hopefully you can see that all right. I just need to stand up to make sure that I'm in shot. Okay, so this is my details. If you would like to find me, dawnferguson.stampinup.net, and you can go on there and do your online shopping. You can check out the catalogues. You can do it all online. It's nice and easy. But today, here we go. I'm going to show you this card. I'm not going to make this exact card. I'm going to make one slightly differently, but to show you two different ways to do it for those who have a big shot or some kind of an embossing tool and those who don't. So let's just pop that to one side and I'll show you what we need. So what you're going to need is a card base, and I've used our Stampin' Up! Thick Whisper White cardstock. So this is just an A4 sheet cut in half and then folded, your standard card base. So you need one of those in Whisper White. And then you're going to need your front mat here that I've embossed. And that one is just a Whisper White, just a normal Whisper White cardstock, cut at 9 by 13.4 centimetres. And then you will need the base for the Christmas tree. I'll leave that there so you can see it. So the base that you stick all this down on the Christmas tree, you cut at 10.5 by 8.5 centimetres. It's fairly simple, really. And then you need one little strip for the trunk. I've used Mossy Meadow, and that is cut at 1.2 by 3 centimetres, just a tiny little strip for the trunk. So that's your cutting for the main part of it. And then for your foils, I've actually used Stampin' Up! Foils. So what I've done is I've taken these foils from the catalogue on page 167, and they're Noble Peacock foil sheets. So you get 2 each of those colours. So we have Blueberry Bushel, Pear Pizzazz and Bermuda Bay. But they also have it in an embossed paper. It's a specialty paper, and they're in the same 3 colours, but they're just like a cardstock with a foil embossing on it. So I'm going to show you how to do it with that today as well. So they're really great packs to use. It just arrived in the mail today, so I can finally get to show you. So this is the colours. You can see the lovely sheen on it in the way they are. So I've just cut some pieces of those, the same size as the Christmas tree base, 10 by 5 by 8 by 5, 10.5 by 8.5 centimetres, because that'll give you the length of the tree, so you need to have these in the same size. So whatever you use, whether you're doing the foils or whether you're doing the fancy papers or any other paper you choose, that's pretty much the size you're going to work from. Right, let's get into it. So the first thing you need to do is, if you have a big shot, you need to get this piece here embossed. So the embossing folder that I've used is actually a retired one because I just happen to like it, but really you could just use anything that you want at all. Just get my cardstock. I thought I had it ready, but I don't. Because I wrote the size on the back of it, that's where it went. Okay, so this is taking your mat, your 9 by 13.4 centimetre, and popping it through the big shot. So this is the Softly Falling folder, which is an old retired one, but I just thought it looked good on here. So I probably can't see this very well. It's a bit of a, I'm not in my normal place, so I have it a bit it's a bit of a different setup for me. Okay, so you pop that through. This is just a basic embossing folder. You don't need any special cutting plates. You can see how old my cutting plates are. Oops, actually you have to take the first layer off, Dawn. That's better. And I like to wind it back through again just to make sure that we've got a nice solid embossing. My hands don't want to work today. So there you go, there's our lovely embossed piece ready for our background. So we can pop the big shot out of the way for now. There. Alright, so that's this piece done. We've got our card base ready, pop that to one side. So now I'll show you how to do the cutting for this. So regardless of whether you're using foil or whether you're using designer series paper, it's the same. So grab my trimmer. Now you've taken your sheet of cardstock, the one that's cut the same size as the mat, and just offset it on a bit of an angle so that you've got, you know, a narrow, you don't have to come to a point, but you can if you want. It's very random. And just cut. Open it up. For the next one, angle it the other way. And you don't want them too wide down here. You can just play with it. You can have a few each which way. I like to have a bit of variety to choose from. So these are the kind of pieces that you get. So you do that with each of the 3 colours that you're using. So just in the interest of time, I've already cut them out of the other specialty paper. So I'll just grab that now. So here's the specialty paper. So this is it in the Bermuda Bay, the blueberry bushel. Oh, my hands don't want to work today. Blueberry bushel, I like to have them all laid out so I can see what I've got. Okay, so there we go. So then you're going to take your little 10 by 5 by 10.5 by 8.5 centimetre base. Now come in here, this is where I like to use grid paper. You come in and you mark the middle off. You could use a ruler, but you know, I like to just mark the middle off with a pencil mark so I know where I'm going. Oops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need to come over. That's it. So just mark the middle, and then about 1 centimetre in, roughly half a centimetre in from the bottom on each side, just do another little mark. And that's all you need to worry about. So on the top, I've just transferred that little mark over to the other side. You don't have to do that on the bottom. That just gives you a starting point. Okay, now for my card here, I've started off with an olive with a pear pizzazz strip in the middle, so I'm going to stick with that. So I'm using my Tombow adhesive because I like to work with this. Now when you're working with foils, Tombow adhesive can make a mess, so you just need to be careful. Don't be too heavy-handed with it. The first piece isn't so critical. As you get out to the edges of the others, it becomes a bit more important how you lay them down. Because I have arthritis, I just have to fiddle about. So this is why I've marked it, so that I get my first one on the line. It doesn't really matter about the rest of it, just that first one. Get it on line, and there you go. So then I'm going with my blue next, but as I say, you can do any colour you like. What you don't want is ooze with this. And I've gone pretty heavy-handed with that, so you might end up with ooze. And then you're working so that you're getting that tree shape. When you're using Scrappy Strip Technique, which Bruno Bertucci, Carly Bertucci's husband, came up with this way of doing it, which is like the old shatter technique that we all learnt in art class way back when we were young. So normally you would put them randomly at different directions, but because I want a tree shape, I've put these all pointing the same way. We just want to get that gap relatively even between them all. Have it stuck down like so, and And I'm coming in with my Bermuda Bay. Now when you start to get to this point, you want to make sure that it's pretty close to the edges without ooze. So I'm not squeezing the nozzle the whole time, I'm just using it to spread. And if you get in a bit of a mess or the blobs are too big, there is a spreader at the other end of that glue that you can just take it off and use it to spread it across the cardstock, which makes life a little easier. So I'm going to go to a few dots here because it gets a bit easier to control on a small piece like this. But because we're going to trim this tree, we're going to want it pretty well adhered. Okay. Now I like Tombow because it gives you just a little wriggle room before it dries, but it does dry. You want a glue that will dry reasonably quickly, but just give you that little room to slide it about. You know, and you can make this as wide or narrow as you want really. And then I'm just coming back in. Now these are the outside edges, and because these will be trimmed, they need to be covered well. You can use any adhesive so long as it will hold the material you're using. So here we go, nearly done. Turn it around. You could mass produce these. I'm going to have some fun with these. Some of the people watching this are probably going to get this for Christmas this year. But I thought, oh, lockdown, what a great time to be doing your Christmas cards. And I belong to a group a Facebook group who do, it's called the 2020 Christmas Stamp-a-thon. Anyone can join. And every month we're set a challenge to make something Christmas related. This particular one was to make 4 cards that are not using any traditional Christmas stamps or dies or whatever. So this was what I came up with as my answer to that challenge, and I really liked it. It's nice when inspiration strikes. Okay, so there you go. You now have this all done nicely. I'll just put the lid on my glue. I like to store it upside down. I made myself a little lidded cube, stuck it when I punched a hole in the lid, glued it all together, and now my Tombow just sits in that beautifully. Alright, so turn this back over, and where you've drawn your lines, now you can stick this into your trimmer if your trimmer is sturdy enough to handle cutting through all those layers. The one I have from Stampin' Up! Would do it, but just to show you the alternative, I'm going to go this way. And you can either use blade or scissors or whatever and cut this down. Like so. Oops. And then for the bottom of the tree, I'm just going to come in also 1/2 centimetre. This is where I like my grid paper, which you can buy. You get a big pack of grid paper. Oh, it's about $20, I think, in the $19.95 or something in our Stampin' Up! Catalogue. So that's just 1/2 centimetre. Or if you have a grid mat, you can just use that and roll it up on that. And there you go. There's your tree done. Now what I did with this one, so you can see that one has all of that lovely shimmery embossing, so it doesn't need anything else done to it. But this one was flat. So here's the one I've done earlier, just in the flat foils. It has more shine, so it's a bit of a different look, but it's similar. So I'll show you what I did with that. So that one I used the Big Shot. And I've used this folder here this is our current January-June mini catalogue. And on page 15, they have this beautiful Parisian Blossom suite. And there's an embossing folder in there, Parisian Flourish, which is quite lovely. And I thought that was good. Now, it's a 3D folder, so it's you need to do this slightly differently with the Big Shot. So we do have a special... we did have, I'm not sure whether we still have, because we don't have the Big Shot, we're waiting on a new cutting machine. There's an adapter that you can buy, I'm pretty sure you can still get it, but I've just gone to my old cutting plate. I do not put the top cutting, my old platform, I don't put the top mat, the top plate onto it. All I do is leave it there, just leave it all closed, put your embossing folder straight down on it and one cutting plate on top. So this is my embossing folder. I know it's hard for you to see. So when you're doing this, you need to make sure that the indented part, when you put your finger in it and feel it, that's the part that you want to be your front. So turn that over, because all of these will push up into that. And we even have a bit of a line on here that you can make sure things are lined up straight. So pop that on there, one cutting plate on top, wind it through and back. And this is why I love having an embossing machine. So they're the two, or a die cutting machine. So that's the two different ways of doing the same thing. I'll just get that out of your face. Pop that over there. Right. So now it comes time to putting this together. One other thing we need to do is we need to take our little strip of 1.2 by 3 centimetre, and I've used Mossy Meadow because it works well with the Pear Pizzazz. And we're going to take a Wink of Stella pen, which are also available in our catalogue, and it's like a glitter brush. And so I thought, it's a Christmas, we need bling, right? This one's a pretty wet one, so just paint it over with your brush, and look at that gorgeous glitter right away. There we go. Dries fairly quickly. Don't know if you can see that glittering and shimmering away there. All right, so then we start to put it together. So taking your embossed Whisper White mat, I'm going to use this one this time. I'm going to put some dimensionals on the back of this card. Find a packet that's open. Okay, now I'm a bit of a cheapskate with my dimensionals. I like to make them last, so I tend to cut. Money I save on this means I have more to spend on stamps and other things that I want, so it pays. A little bit more time consuming, but oops, just lifted the back off. Hard to see with the phone in my face. Pop these around. I want a reasonable number of them. Sorry, I would have done this earlier and sped it up, but I'm not that clever. You do want to make sure you have a good one at the point, not over the edge. Good. One in there. Oh, that's a full one. There's another full one. Too bad. There you go. I'm in a rush now. Well, I'm not really. I just don't want this to last forever. Okay, so peel off your backings. Whose hands dry because of all of the hand washing? My hands are not good at the best of times, but they are so dry at the moment. It's ridiculous. Okay, so that's got all those backings off. And then you're just going to get this lined up centrally. Oops, no you're not. You're going to put your little tree bit on first. So we just have a bit of Tombow for the trunk. Oops. Okay, so I'm going to pop this about, as long as it's in the middle, it doesn't really matter what else we do. I think I'm going to go about there. And now I'm going to position my tree. Make sure your cardstock is straight when you're holding this, otherwise you'll have a crooked tree. I'm going to go about there, I reckon. I'm happy with that. It's not quite central, but it'll do me. Alright, so that's what I did. Now the last thing I did for that one to decorate was I've used some what do you call them? Rhinestones. I put one on the top of the tree, right at the top. It overhangs a little. And I've taken some of these small ones and I've just done like a little semicircle on the cardstock behind them. Oops. Just to give it that impression that it's radiating. I know what I should be using. Why don't I get it out? This is the Take Your Pick tool, which is marvellous. Oh, except I've just run out. That's better. I love this tool. I just keep forgetting that I have it, which is a bit silly. One more. And that just gives you that little bit of, I haven't done that evenly, but you get the idea, a little bit of radiance. And then if you want to, you can just do some random different sized diamantes all over the different areas of the tree. You don't need too many, just a bit of a random thing. So these are available in our catalogue. It comes with this putty in the end and they're replaceable. You have a little spatula for lifting things off and a needle, and there's another attachment that's a stylus. And it's just a fantastic tool. It's called Take Your Pick from Stampin' Up. Okay, so this is probably a bit more random than I would otherwise be, but there you go, you get the idea. One more in here, because you can just never have enough bling, right? Okay, there we go, that's that. Pop that away. And then you get your card base. One more must be wanting to be on there. There you go. So onto our card base, and make sure that you're doing it the right way around. I have done a few backwards ones with these. And that's just going to get stuck down with dimensionals again. So just dimensionals in behind there, which you can get them in the larger size or in the small mini size. Mini seems to be slightly thicker, different applications. So pop that down on there onto the card base with dimensionals, and your card will be done. And you can do that either way. So there you go. I hope that's all clear. So just don't forget your cutting plan once again was your main card is an A5 size, which is half an A4 folded, and then you've got your first mat, this bit here, and that was 9 centimeters by 13.4 centimeters. Your background, your bit for your tree is this bit here that we cut the tree of. That's 10.5 by 8.5, and if you cut the same size in each of the 3 colors of your foil or your fancy paper that you're using, and then you can angle the strips. So I hope that's as clear as mud. If you need any supplies, dawnferguson.stampinup.net will find me, or you can find me on Facebook, Dawn Ferguson Independent Stampin' Up Demonstrator. Bye.